Hi everyone, welcome to the mini story for Day of the Dead. In this mini story, I will ask question you know. Okay, let's start. I arrived in Guatemala on the Day of the Dead, November 1st. Did I arrive in Guatemala? Yes, I arrived in Guatemala. Did I arrive? Did I arrive? Guatemala, right? Yes, I arrived in Guatemala. I arrived in Guatemala on the day of the death, November 1st. Who arrived in Guatemala on the day of the death? Well, AJ Ho. Yes, AJ Ho. I arrived in Guatemala on the day of the death, November 1st. Did I arrive in Guatemala on November 3rd? No, I didn't. I didn't arrive in Guatemala on November 3rd. I arrived in Guatemala on November 1st. What day did I arrive in Guatemala? November 1st, cause I arrived in Guatemala on November 1st. Where did I arrive on November 1st? Guatemala, I arrived in Guatemala on November 1st. I arrived in Guatemala on the day of the death, November 1st. I was curious about this holiday, so I went to the cemetery to see what was happening. Were I angry about this holiday? No, I wasn't angry about this holiday. Was I sad about this holiday? No, I wasn't sad about this holiday. I was curious about this holiday. Who was curious about this holiday? Well, I was AJ. I was curious about this holiday. What were I curious about Yes, the holiday, the holiday. Cause I was curious about the holiday. Yes. Which holiday I curious about? Which holiday were I curious about? The day of the death. I was curious about the day of the death. Were I curious about the day of the death? Or were I curious about Christmas? No, I was curious about the day of the death. Cause I was curious about the day of the death. So I went to the cemetery to see what was happening. What did I go? Yeah, to the cemetery. I went to the cemetery. Did I go to the cemetery or did I go to the airport? Oh, it's so easy. I went to the cemetery. Who went to the cemetery? Well, AJ went to the cemetery. Where did I go? Oh, to the cemetery, right? I went to the cemetery. When did I go to the cemetery? November 1st. November 1st, the day of the death. November 1st. I went to the cemetery on the day of the death, November 1st. Why did I go to the cemetery? Well, to see what was happening. To see what was happening. I went to the cemetery to see what was happening. Who went to the cemetery to see what was happening? Yes, AJ went to the cemetery to see what happening. Where was the cemetery? Oh, in Guatemala, of course. The cemetery was in Guatemala. What is the day of the dead? Holiday. Holiday. The day of the dead is a holiday. Yes. When is the day of the dead? Oh, November 1st. Because the day of the dead the day of the dead was November 1st and November 1st. So I went to the cemetery cemetery on the day of the dead to see what was happening. What I found was quite interesting. Was it boring? No, it wasn't boring. Was it interesting? Yes, it was interesting. The cemetery were interesting. How did I feel about the cemetery? I felt it was happening. I felt it was interesting, or through it was interesting. Okay. Was it boring or was it interesting? Oh, it was interesting because it was interesting. What was interesting? The cemetery are interesting. When were the cemetery interesting? It was interesting on the day of the dead, November 1st. The atmosphere in the cemetery was nice. But was the atmosphere very sad? No. The atmosphere was not sad. The atmosphere was necropathy. The atmosphere was very, very happy. Was the atmosphere sad or happy? Of course, the atmosphere was happy. The atmosphere is necropathy. What were necropathy? Oh, the atmosphere. The atmosphere in the cemetery was necropathy. Where was the atmosphere in necropathy? Oh, in the cemetery. The atmosphere was necropathy in the cemetery. Was the atmosphere was atmosphere necropathy at my house? No, not at my house. The atmosphere was necropathy at the cemetery. The atmosphere was not necropathy in my house. So I go to so the atmosphere was necropathy. There were people everywhere. Families are sitting around the grave of the dead, etc. Where were the families sitting? Around the graves. They were sitting around the graves. who were sitting around the graves. The family were sitting around the graves. Were they sitting around the trees? No, no, they wasn't sitting around the trees. They were sitting around the graves. Yes, yes. So where were they sitting? Or around the graves? Family family were sitting around the graves of their dead, etc. Were they sitting around the graves of the dead, etc.? Yes, yes. They were sitting around the graves on their dead, etc. Okay, that's all. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.